I'm in the Grand Canal Theatre with Mr. George Daugherty, who is back in Dublin for Bugs Bunny at the Symphony, the European premiere.
European premiere, yes.
For those people watching this who don't know what you do, what is it?
Well, for 20 years we have done a concert called Bugs Bunny on Broadway, which celebrates, and that's sort of a misnomer because you expect, when you hear Bugs Bunny on Broadway, expect Bugs to come out and sing I Had a Dream from Les Miserables, but it's not Bugs as Susan Boyle. It's actually a fantastic concert of What's Opera Doc, The Rabbit of Seville, Corny Concerto, all the great Looney Tunes with the great scores by Carl Stalling. And these were iconic film scores of their day at Warner Brothers, all played by a gigantic symphony orchestra, and so we've taken it out on the road for the past 20 years. And so a year ago we did Bugs Bunny on Broadway with RTE Concert Orchestra at the National Concert Hall. Huge success, every performance sold out, and as part of our 20th anniversary we have relaunched the concert, and it's now called Bugs Bunny at the Symphony, which is what it should have been called in the first place. It was actually originally called Bugs Bunny in Concert, which was a really pretty accurate title, but we went to Broadway, and it was a huge hit on Broadway in New York in 1990, and everyone decided with their infinite movie studio wisdom that we should be called Bugs Bunny on Broadway. So anyway, this is our 20th anniversary, and for 20 years we have been taking this concert around the world with live orchestra on stage and then a big screen above the orchestra with projecting these iconic cartoons, and we perform a whole evening of that.
But the music that's used is probably people's first introduction to a lot of classical music.
I said to a journalist, actually I don't know how it is that it took me 20 years to come out with this quote, because I actually thought it was pretty good. When most of my quotes are so tired now because I've been doing them for 20 years, but I said to a journalist a week ago in the Irish Times that 90% of the world, if they admit it, got their first classical music introduction from Bugs Bunny, and the other 10% are liars. Because really I think the whole world has gotten their first introduction to Wagner, Rossini, Tchaikovsky, Strauss, Liszt, Donizetti. We have there's just a few of the classical composers represented in this. Smetana, von Suppé, Offenbach. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And it isn't an accident that this happened. Hollywood was a hotbed of classical music in the 1930s and 40s for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons is so many European musicians had fled Europe and were looking for a place to work. When they fled pre-World War II Europe and had planned to come to America to play in all of the many symphony orchestras that America had then, and only discovered that America didn't have very many symphony orchestras back in the 1930s and 40s. So they all ended up in Hollywood. And every studio in Hollywood, Warner Brothers, MGM, Paramount, Universal, on 20th Century Fox, legendary orchestra, they all had these incredible symphony orchestras probably the best symphony orchestras in the world were in Hollywood in the 1940s, and there were about 7 of them. Warner Brothers had one of the best, and so of course they played the music for all the great live action films like The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca and you know, the great musicals, the Busby Berkeley musicals, all that. But they also played for every one of the cartoons.
Right.
And that was how this legacy was born.
Oh, Brunhilde, you're so far away.
Yes, I know it. I can't help it.
Oh, Brunhilde, be my love.
One of the things I love about the new concert that we've done this time is that we are saluting a little bit more of the history than we did in the first concert. And one of the things that we have in this new concert, which you're going to absolutely love when you see it because you're a connoisseur of animation, we have a montage of Looney Tunes songs in this one, including Owl Jolson singing "I Love to Singa." But I don't know if you've ever seen that song, but it's one of the great cartoons. Porky Pig and Petunia Pig doing "Ooh, would you like to take a walk?" It's this whole, because the songs were very important to the Looney Tunes. Warner Brothers got their popular song library out to the world through these cartoons. It was sort of an MTV of its time, and so we have a whole salute to that in this this version of the show, and it's really quite fun. You'll really enjoy it.
And the worry that some people will have is that, number one, it's classical music, and number two, that when you go and you see somebody like the RTÉ Concert Orchestra or any orchestra, you have to be quite formal, and the kids would have to be behaved and all that kind of stuff. But that's not the concert that you want.
No, we encourage controlled chaos in the concert hall. We encourage audience participation because, really and truly, the history of these cartoons and the tradition of these cartoons is that they were seen in movie theaters by big audiences. So they're timed for audience response. They're timed for laughter and applause and reaction. To me, when I watch them on my own and don't have an audience reacting to them, it's devoid of that fourth wall of the soundscape. Because for me, the 4 walls of the soundscape for these cartoons are music, dialogue, sound effects, and then audience.
Right.
And without the audience, you're really missing, you know, a fourth of the sound design.
Yep.
So the audience is actually a crucial, element to the actual performance.
When we last spoke last year, you were excited about coming back to work with the RTÉ Concert Orchestra. How has it been just coming back and meeting everybody again?
Well, they're wonderful. They're a phenomenal orchestra to begin with. They're extremely versatile and diverse. So they can do the great classical war horses, but they can also do film music, they can do pop music, they can do everything. And that's what this concert takes. It's funny because we've played this concert, well, not, and the other concert, the former concert, the concert formerly known as Bugs Bunny on Broadway, with some of the greatest orchestras in the world, the Philadelphia Orchestra, the Cleveland Orchestra, the New York Philharmonic, the Chicago Symphony. And sometimes, not that I'm naming any specific orchestra, but sometimes the really great classical orchestras, they really excel at the high classical moments, the Wagner, the ring cycle quotes, all that kind of stuff. But when things really get crazy, they kind of fall apart and aren't sure where to take this. These cartoons require an immense amount of versatility from the musicians. And this orchestra, there isn't a better orchestra in the world than this orchestra to do this concert. So it was like being back at home with them today. And the amazing thing is that even though it's been a year since we did the last version of this concert, they remembered so amazingly. So we really started on a very high level today of rehearsing. It's very exciting to do that because you can get them to a place where you normally don't get an orchestra in this because you don't have time.
Right.
So.
Bring the kids.
Bring the kids, bring the adults, bring the grandparents. This concert, I think this concert is fairly unique in its demographic spread because so often when parents bring their kids to something that the kids like, it's sort of dull for the parents. And by the same token, frequently parents bring their kids to things that the kids I don't think are quite ready for, like Mahler or Bruckner, or the real Ring cycle. And, you know, the kids are sort of lost. This is perfect for everybody. Everybody loves these cartoons. I still am I never cease to be amazed by the fact that kids laugh consistently all over the world at certain moments in the cartoons. Adults laugh consistently all over the world, no matter where you are, whether you're at the Hollywood Bowl or in the Kremlin Palace or here in Dublin or in China, at the same moments in the cartoon, and then they all laugh together. So when you're listening to the audience reaction, you can hear the kids, you can hear the adults, then you can hear everybody together. But it's pretty consistent all over the world. That's one of the great pleasures about this.
Next.
And I think kids don't know the Looney Tunes quite as well as they used to. Okay. So for a lot of them, it's their first experience, and they just have. But people always say to me, "Oh, I don't know whether to bring my 5-year-old or my 6-year-old or my 7-year-old because I think they'll get bored." And I mean, this is not because I am, the creator of this thing. I say this is just out of experience. I say I've never ever seen a kid who is bored with this concert, and I've never seen an adult. I've never seen anyone who's bored with it. Yeah. Because, and I've been doing it for 21 years now, and I'm not bored with it.
But you're looking forward to it?
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thanks very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
I'm really looking forward to it too. Just so we all know. Thanks, George.